Alright, so everyone knows about the Hitman games. You know, Hitman, Hitman 2, and I even made an entire video on Hitman 3 a while back. But there's one Hitman game that I'm sure 99% of you probably have no idea even exists or have ever seen anything on. A game called Hitman Go. Originally released on the iPhone and Android back in 2014, and since it's been put onto consoles and PC via Steam, which is where I 100%ed it today. It's a very odd formatted game in comparison to all of the other Hitman games, but seeing as it did come out originally on the phone, it's really no surprise. However, even with this very weird view, it runs great, works perfectly, and I had a fun time getting every achievement for it today. In total, the game contains 26 achievements. It only took me about 3 or 4 hours to do, and there is an amazing guide I followed to make sure not to miss anything and bang this one out for the boys. Oh my god! So starting off, the only real stage or goal is to finish the entire game without ever using hints and getting every objective done on every level. And you can't use hints because of an achievement called Silent Assassin, but also hints literally tell you a move by move guide, so it would genuinely make this game pointless. Kicking off the game though, you just begin playing the first level, which is a very easy version of what the game's levels look like, and they progressively get harder and harder as you play, which is the natural progression for games. But it would be kind of funny if they gave us the hardest ones first, I'm just saying. Anyways, Hitman Go has this kind of overview, eagle-eye move selection type gameplay that you can clearly see is not traditional, and it's actually very much like a board game. I actually do think that is the inspiration or style they went with, but the achievements throughout it are kind of spread out, and there is one per board after doing all the objectives in general. But the first achievement I would get was still during the first board, called 2 for 1 from just killing 2 enemies at once. And thanks to the nature of this game's AI, you can actually bait enemies into grouping up quite often, making this a not very challenging achievement to get, which is why I got it within the first 6 minutes of gameplay today. I then just kept playing, cruising through the game as the levels got harder and harder until ending up on the final level of board 1, which was actually very difficult. Almost all types of enemies were here now, increasing the difficulty a lot, and it took me quite a few minutes to get past this one. We also had a real target this time instead of just exits in previous levels. And once I did reach the guy, I ended up finishing every objective there was in the board because of this outstanding guide I was following, making it very easy to do so. And that's the only real challenge of this game's achievement list, being able to read the directions of the guide, because they are extremely close together, and I swear to God I've got to be dyslexic with the amount of times I read the wrong one and just completely fucked up my run. But we were then onto board 2, which is basically the same thing as before, just a tad bit harder overall, and it also looks different, which is neat. The first achievement I would get here was also from me just simply playing 1,000 turns of the game, or for better description, I moved 1,000 times in any direction, more than your fat mother ever has in her entire life. Nearing the end of board 2, there was also another level that had us wearing disguises throughout it. A disguise in this game can be thrown on to, well, disguise you from other people of that same outfit. And you almost need to use it on certain levels to get all the objectives. And with that said, I managed to wear all the differing types for an achievement. There was only like 3, I think, but still. And for some reason, even after I finished all of board 2's levels and objectives, that achievement for doing so did not pop. I honestly don't know why, but it did that for board 3 also when I finished that. Before figuring out the reason behind such occurrence, however, I did just continue on, and in a moment I hadn't even realized the game might have glitched out. I was too zoomed in on killing people and my bald head. During board 3, I had also reached secret passes levels, which are a big part of this game's harder levels, and you can just hop in and hop out of them like I do in uncommitted relationships with women. But if you kill someone while coming out of a secret passage, you get an achievement, and that's exactly what I did right here. The following level also had another achievement opportunity, which I did seize from crushing 3 enemies with a statue at one time, and I think this is also the only way to get rid of them on this level, so this might even be natural. Don't quote me on that though. But crushing enemies with a statue is kind of hard to set up, considering you need to first bait them there, then also get to a gun before they move out of the group. I did it though, so it can't be that hard, let's be real. And here's the achievement pop. During the beginning of board 4, I also would get another achievement, but not from killing 3 enemies at once, instead for getting chased by 3 enemies at once, which is kind of similar, I guess. Not sure what outcome I would prefer though. And board 4 was actually very fast, so I would end up finishing it after a little while and doing all the objectives on it for that achievement. It was also at this point in which I realized that, hey, I didn't get that achievement for board 2 or 3. So I checked my settings in the Steam overlay thing and would see that both achievements were still locked. Also, if you want to follow my Steam account or just stalk me when I play games or videos, it's simply called Its Ilusion, the cult classic. But I would end up just going back into both boards 2 and 3, and the achievement for all of the objectives popped right away once I simply entered them. No clue why it worked like that, but that's fine with me, I guess. Anyways, back to the game's story. I was on board 5 at this point, and just for some lore, there are 7 boards in this game, or 7 levels if you want to look at it like that. And I got a funny achievement during board 5 from throwing an object and having it alert nobody. Throwing objects, by the way, is a big part of this game because it draws attention towards you faster than if you were to yell, "I have a bomb at an airport." Anyways, board 5 wasn't really much harder than any other board. If anything, it just looked cooler, and that's because it was based off of some real Hitman levels in other games. So much so that when I finished all of the objectives on it and got the achievement, it just called it the opera level as if it was trying to be cool and unique even. Anyways, I was now onto the 6th chapter, which again functioned like all of the others, but before finishing all of its objectives, I did manage to get a collectible achievement, which is nice because there's actually quite a few of those in this game. This one, however, was from killing 100 blue enemies or static enemies, and they called them static because they cannot move or patrol for that matter. But they actually can be quite annoying, so I felt great pleasure when this achievement popped. I love murder. But then the next achievement I did get was just from finishing off the 6th chapter and all of its objectives. By the way, I know I'm not really saying what the objectives are in each chapter, but that's just because they are literally the same on every level, just alternating. It's simply kill everyone, kill nobody, grab the briefcase, and then turn limits. That's it. So it is honestly kind of boring, and it does sort of make sense as to why this game never got the attention from, well, anybody. And unfortunately, due to so many achievements that I've already gotten and not gotten, all being collective kill achievements for the most part, I would end up getting 0 more achievements until just finishing the 7th and final board of the game, which was by far the coolest. And honestly, it wasn't that hard. Most of them could be done in only one run without needing multiple for different objectives. So once I did finish that final level off, it gave me 2 achievements actually. The Silent Assassin one I mentioned for never using hints, and then the achievement for just level 7's all objectives completed. But with that done, it was now sadly time to go in and clean up all of the remaining achievements I hadn't yet got, and there was shockingly quite a few, which was unexpected. This game on Steam, by the way, does have a lot more achievements than it does on PlayStation, which is kind of odd. But the first achievement I did was from turning 100 times in one level, and you can just farm this on level 1-1 or any level from just turning back and forth until it pops. I then went to level 1-7 and baited a ton of enemies to be right next to each other and got a 5 kill piece on them for another achievement that I would have never got without a guide. I then farmed a bit of an annoying trophy from needing to die 200 times in total, and it's best farmed on level 2-3 because you only have to move 1 time to die, so then you just had to do that 200 times at most, that is. And I spent about 20 minutes just doing this over and over and over and over and over and over. I'm actually in great belief that if I got put in a purgatory, I would be just fine because I do shit like that on a daily fucking basis. And once I eventually reached 200 deaths, the achievement would then pop. Thankfully, the next achievement I farmed had me killing enemies this time, so I got a lot of my anger out after so much dying over and over. It's called Now You See Me from killing 100 total enemies, which is best done on the level 2-5 because it consists entirely of just teal enemies, so that's dope. And there was a good method or route to get almost all of them dead every time, so this went by quite fast to be honest, which is the polar opposite experience to what dying 200 times felt like. I then went to level 3-4 and farmed another kill achievement on enemies, except this time it was all on gray enemies, which are the grouped up ones, and you had to kill entire pairs. So really each kill counts for just 1, which is a bit disappointing because farming this wasn't as quick as it seemed like it would be. But it still only took me like 10 minutes to do because you could get so many finished with in each run, a lot like the teal enemies to be honest. So here's that achievement once I did nail out 100 of them. I then made it to level 3-8 and farmed yet again another color specific enemy achievement, but this time it was on yellow patrol enemies, which are the dudes who do move every time that you move. And while I was farming kills on them to get to 100, I also performed 5,000 turns overall for that achievement. And only a few short moments after that I did reach 100 yellow enemy kills for that achievement pop as well. And this level was also great to farm gun kills on because that is what I was using to get the yellow patrol kills, but you also do need 100 kills with guns in the game, so I was multitasking without even realizing it, reaching 100 gun kills right here in the achievement popping. I then just went down one more escalator or moving belt to get pushed 100 steps and that achievement popped. And my final achievement before 100% completion was then from following a hint and breaking off of it, but still finishing the level regardless. So I just chose a random ass level to do this on, and once I did break away from the hint by just backtracking, I finished the level and got the achievement. So that was the Hitman Go 100% achievement experience. Overall, I think the game was cool for what it was. I bet a younger version of myself in 2014 would have had a blast on this trying to figure the shit out, but now that my brain is developed and I know the existence of titties, I think other things would really give me more enjoyment, and I didn't totally love this game. Rating it out of 10, I'll probably just still give it a solid 5 though, because it is quite unique to anything I've ever played. And yeah, that's it. 6,000 likes and I'll 100% to every other Hitman game there is.